My name is Eden. I'm 32 years old, and I learned my husband was moving to Barcelona with another woman while I was stuck in traffic picking up our 6-year-old son from soccer practice. He thought I'd beg him to stay. He was wrong. Before I tell you how I dismantled his perfect escape plan in 72 hours, drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and hit that subscribe button because you'll want to hear every detail of how this ended. Trust me, what he found when he came crawling back was better than any revenge movie. I met Grant Thompson 10 years ago when I was 22 and working at an advertising agency in Santa Monica. He was 35 then, an account director with the kind of confidence that filled every room he walked into. Tall, sharp suits, a smile that made you believe whatever he was selling. We dated for 2 years before getting married when I turned 24. Back then, I thought I had found my forever. Our son Caleb came along 2 years after the wedding when I was 26. We bought a 2-story house in Culver City for $750,000. It was everything we had dreamed about, a white picket fence neighborhood where kids rode bikes down the street and neighbors knew each other's names. The mortgage was steep, but we managed. Grant worked as a marketing director at a tech startup called Quantum Dynamics, pulling in $120,000 a year. I was a graphic designer, and after Caleb was born, I switched to freelance work so I could be home with him. I made about $50,000 annually, enough to contribute, but not enough to feel secure on my own. Our life had a rhythm. I woke up at 6 every morning, made breakfast for Caleb, packed his lunch with the crusts cut off his sandwiches, just how he liked them. I drove him to school at 7:30, came home, worked from my little desk in the corner of our bedroom until 3 in the afternoon, then picked him up. Dinner was on the table by 6. Grant usually came home around 8, sometimes 9. He'd ruffle Caleb's hair, kiss my cheek, eat whatever I'd saved for him, then disappear into his home office for another hour of work. It wasn't perfect, but it was ours, or so I thought. 6 months ago in January, things started to shift. Grant began working later, not just an hour or two, but until 10, sometimes 11 at night. Business dinners, he said, client meetings that couldn't wait. I believed him because I wanted to, because doubting your husband feels like doubting yourself. He started dressing differently too. New clothes appeared in his closet, designer shirts I didn't remember him buying, cologne that smelled expensive and unfamiliar. He joined a gym and went 5 times a week, coming home with wet hair and flushed cheeks, talking about how good it felt to prioritize his health. His phone became an extension of his hand. He took it everywhere, into the bathroom, out to the garage when he took out the trash. It was always face down on the table, always on silent. When I asked who he was texting, he'd say it was work stuff and change the subject. I felt something crumbling inside me, but I pushed it down. Marriage is trust, I told myself. You can't interrogate your partner every time they seem distant. Everyone goes through phases. He's just stressed about work. In February, Grant went on a business trip to San Francisco for 3 days. Usually, he video called Caleb every night when he traveled. Our son would show him drawings from school, tell him about his day. But that trip, Grant only sent a few text messages. Busy meetings, he wrote. I'll make it up to him when I'm back. He returned with gifts. Chocolate for Caleb. Perfume for me, something floral that I would never have chosen for myself. The gesture felt hollow, like he'd grabbed them from an airport shop on his way to the gate. By March, I couldn't ignore it anymore. The distance between us had become a canyon. We barely spoke beyond logistics. Did you pay the electric bill? Can you pick up Caleb on Thursday? What time is his dentist appointment? We were roommates managing a household, not partners, sharing a life. Then came the announcement that changed everything. One evening in late March, Grant sat me down at the kitchen table after Caleb had gone to bed. His face was serious, but there was an excitement in his eyes I hadn't seen in months. The company wants to send me to Barcelona to open a new office, he said. It's a huge opportunity. Could be a few months. My stomach dropped. A A few months. What about Caleb? What about us? It's for my career, Eden, for our family's future, she. This could mean a promotion, more money, better stability. Can we come with you? I asked, already knowing the answer. No, it's not practical. Caleb's in school. You have your clients. I'll come back often. I should have pushed harder. I should have asked more questions. But I was tired of feeling like I was chasing someone who was already gone. So I said okay. I said I'd support him, and he kissed my forehead like I was a child who had just agreed to let him have the last cookie. In April, the preparations began. Grant spent even more time at the office, supposedly coordinating with the Barcelona team. Weekends disappeared. He'd be locked in his home office on Zoom calls, speaking in low tones I couldn't quite make out through the door. Caleb started asking why Daddy didn't play with him anymore. I didn't have an answer. I just hugged him and said Daddy was working hard for us. By May, Grant announced his departure date, June 1st. The company had found him an apartment in the Example district of Barcelona, a furnished 2-bedroom place, 2 bedrooms. That detail stuck in my mind, but I didn't know why at the time. How long exactly, I asked. 6 months, maybe longer. Depends on how the launch goes. 6 months felt like a lifetime. I tried one more time. Are you sure we can't come, even for part of it? His jaw tightened. Eden, this is important to me. Can you please just support this? The way he said it made me feel like I was the problem, like I was holding him back from some great destiny. So I swallowed my hurt and told him, of course, I supported him. I spent the last 2 weeks of May in a fog. I'd wake up in the morning and look at the man sleeping next to me, except he'd already started sleeping in the guest room 2 weeks earlier, said he didn't want to disturb me with his early alarms. Another lie I accepted because the truth was too painful to face. The day everything fell apart was May 31st, a Friday. Grant's flight to Barcelona was scheduled for the next morning, June 1st. I woke up at 6, determined to make his last morning at home special. I cooked pancakes, scrambled eggs, bacon, Caleb's favourite breakfast, and Grant's too, back when he still had favourites. Grant came down at 7, already dressed for the office. He ate quickly, barely tasting the food. I have so much to pack, he said. Can't be late to the office today. Caleb climbed into his lap. Don't go, Daddy. Grant patted his head absently. I have to, buddy, but I'll video call you every night. The promise was hollow. I could hear it in his voice, but Caleb believed him, and that made it worse. At 7:30, Grant left for the office. 3 large suitcases sat by the front door, already packed. He didn't hug me goodbye. Just a quick kiss on the cheek, and he was gone. The morning passed in a blur. I worked on a logo design for a new client, barely able to focus. At 2 in the afternoon, I got an email from Caleb's school. Soccer practice schedule change. Ends at 4:30 today instead of 5. Please adjust pickup accordingly. I checked my watch. If I left now, I'd get there in plenty of time. But traffic in Los Angeles is unpredictable, especially on a Friday afternoon. I left at 3:45, earlier than necessary. Better to be early than late. The school was in Westwood, about 12 miles from our house in Culver City. Normally a 25-minute drive. Today, there was an accident on the I-405. Traffic came to a complete standstill. I sat there, inching forward every few minutes, watching the clock. 4:05, 4:15, 4:25. I was still 5 miles away. Caleb would be waiting. I hated being late for him. My phone was mounted on the dashboard, connected to the car through Apple CarPlay. I used it for navigation and music. The screen showed my route, estimated time and notifications. At 4:15, a message popped up. From Grant. Almost done packing. Can't wait to start our new life tomorrow. Barcelona will be perfect for us. I stared at the screen confused. Our new life. Us. Grant always talked about Barcelona as his project, his opportunity. He'd never used those words before. Before I could process it, another message appeared. I told Eden I'll be gone 6 months, but honestly, I don't plan on coming back. Once we're settled, I'll file for divorce from there. Easier that way. The car behind me honked. The light had turned green, but I couldn't move. My hands were frozen on the steering wheel. I read the message again, certain I'd misunderstood. I told Eden I'll be gone 6 months, but honestly, I don't plan on coming back. My husband, talking about me in third person, to someone else. Another message appeared. Shit, sorry, sent to wrong person. Ignore those. See you at the apartment at 7. That's when it hit me. Grant had meant to send those messages to someone else, someone he was going to Barcelona with, someone he was starting a new life with, and he'd accidentally sent them to me instead. The phone screen blurred. I pulled the car over to the side of the freeway into the emergency lane. Cars zoomed past me. I sat there gripping the steering wheel, trying to breathe. 10 years of marriage, a 6-year-old son, a house we'd bought together, and Grant had been planning to abandon all of it. Not because of work, because of another woman. My phone rang. Grant. I didn't answer. He called again. I declined it. A text appeared. Don't freak out. We'll talk when I get back tonight. No apology for what he'd said, no explanation, just an order not to freak out, as if I was being unreasonable for being upset that my husband was leaving me. I forced myself to start driving again. Caleb was waiting. Whatever was happening with Grant Caleb needed me. That was the only thing that mattered right now. I reached the school at 4:50, 20 minutes late. Caleb stood with Coach Luis, his backpack at his feet, his face sad. I'm so sorry, baby. Traffic was terrible. Caleb ran to me and wrapped his arms around my waist. He didn't say anything, just held on tight. Coach Luis gave me a sympathetic smile. He's okay, Mrs. Thompson. These things happen. I thanked him and led Caleb to the car. He climbed into the back seat and started talking about practice, about the goal he almost scored, about how his friend Marco fell and scraped his knee. I tried to listen, tried to respond appropriately, but my mind was elsewhere. Once we're settled, I'll file for divorce from there. Easier that way. Grant had planned this. For how long? Months since January, when the late nights started, since he joined that gym and bought new clothes and started acting like a stranger in our house. When we got home, Caleb ran inside to take a shower. I sat in the car for 5 more minutes staring at Grant's messages on my phone. I opened a new browser window on my phone and searched Grant Thompson, Barcelona. His LinkedIn profile appeared. He'd updated it recently. Excited to start new chapter in Barcelona. Moving next week, I scrolled through the comments. Colleagues wishing him luck, a few people asking if they were hiring, and then I saw it. A woman named Natasha Vega had commented, "Can't wait. This is going to be amazing." I clicked on her profile. 30 years old, product manager at Quantum Dynamics. Dark hair, blue eyes, beach photos. And there in her recent activity, a post from 2 weeks ago. A photo of 2 plane tickets to Barcelona with the caption, "New adventures await." I felt numb, not angry, not sad, just empty, like someone had scooped out my insides and left a hollow shell. Grant was leaving me for Natasha Vega. They'd been planning this for months. While I made his breakfast and did his laundry and raised his son, he'd been building a new life with someone else. And he'd been planning to abandon us without even having the decency to tell me to my face. That evening passed in strange clarity. I made dinner for Caleb, spaghetti with the jarred sauce he liked. We ate together at the kitchen table. He told me about school, about his teacher's new haircut, about the field trip next week to the Science Museum. I nodded and asked questions and pretended my world wasn't disintegrating. At 6, Grant came home. He walked in carrying 3 large suitcases. He'd clearly been home already at some point during the day to get them. Just dropping these off, he said, not meeting my eyes. Heading to the office to finalize some documents. I'll be back late, so don't wait up. I stood in the doorway between the kitchen and living room. What time is your flight tomorrow, 10 a.m? I'll take an Uber to LAX. You don't want us to take you. No need. You should spend time with Caleb. No emotion in his voice, no regret, like he was discussing a business trip, not the end of our family. He walked over to Caleb and kissed the top of his head. "Be good, buddy. Daddy will call you." "Okay, Daddy." Grant looked at me for half a second. "See you later." I watched him leave. The door closed behind him, and I stood there feeling nothing and everything at once. Caleb looked up at me from the table. "Mommy, are you sad?" I knelt down and hugged him. "No, baby. Mummy's fine." But I wasn't fine, and I wasn't going to be sad either. I was going to be smart. After Caleb went to bed at 8:30, after I read him 2 chapters of his current favourite book and sang him the lullaby I'd sung since he was a baby, I went downstairs. I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop and started investigating. I pulled up Natasha Vega's Instagram. It was public. Dozens of photos. I scrolled through them carefully. There, 3 weeks ago, a photo at a company event. Grant in the background looking at Natasha the way he used to look at me. Another photo from a month ago, the two of them at what looked like a happy hour. They weren't touching, but the way they stood close to each other told me everything. I kept scrolling. 6 weeks ago, Natasha had posted a photo of an apartment listing in Barcelona, looking at options, the caption said. Grant had been planning this for at least 6 weeks, probably longer. Next, I logged into our joint bank account. My hands shook as I typed the password. The account loaded. I scanned the recent transactions. There, 1 week ago, a transfer of $50,000 from our savings account to an account I didn't recognize. I clicked on it. It was Grant's personal account. One I didn't even know existed. $50,000. Money we'd saved together. Money that was supposed to be for Caleb's college fund, for emergencies, for our future. Grant had taken it and moved it to an account where only he had access. I checked our credit card statements next. Hotel bookings in Barcelona for 2 people, a long-term apartment rental listed as a 2-bedroom. Even the reservation note said party of 2. Everything was there, evidence of a man who had meticulously planned to erase his old life and start fresh. Without telling me, without giving me a choice. I could have cried. Part of me wanted to, but tears wouldn't change anything. Action would. I opened a new document on my laptop and started making a list. Step 1, secure finances. Step 2, protect Caleb. Step 3, secure the house. Step 4, legal action. Step 5, his return. Because Grant would come back. Men like him always did. They thought they could have it both ways. Start their exciting new life, but keep the old one in reserve in case things didn't work out. I'd seen it in movies, heard it from friends who'd been through divorces. The husband leaves, realizes the grass isn't greener, comes crawling back, expecting forgiveness. Grant would come back, and when he did, he'd find nothing waiting for him. At 11 that night, I heard his car in the driveway. He came in through the front door, quietly, probably assuming I was asleep. Instead of coming upstairs, he went to the guest room where he'd been sleeping. I heard the door close, heard the water run in the attached bathroom, then silence. I lay in our bed, staring at the ceiling, making plans. I didn't sleep at all that night. The next morning, June 1st, I woke at 6. Grant was already up, moving around in the guest room. I got dressed, went downstairs, and made breakfast. Pancakes again. Not because I wanted to, but because I needed Caleb to feel like everything was normal. Caleb came down at 6:30, rubbing his eyes. Grant appeared a few minutes later, fully dressed in travelling clothes, jeans, a button-down shirt, sneakers, ready for his new life. We ate breakfast in near silence. Caleb asked questions about Spain, about what Grant would see there, whether there would be beaches. Grant answered in short sentences, checking his watch every few minutes. At 7:30, a black car pulled up outside. The Uber. Grant stood up from the table. Caleb ran to him. "Don't go, Daddy. Please don't go." Grant hugged him quickly. "I have to, buddy. But I'll call you. Every single night. I promise." Another lie. I could see it in his eyes. He had no intention of calling every night. This was goodbye, even if he wouldn't say it. Grant looked at me. "I'll call when I land." I nodded, saying nothing. What was there to say? Have a nice life with your mistress, Hope. Barcelona treats you well. He grabbed his suitcases and walked out the door without looking back. The car drove away. Caleb stood at the window watching until it disappeared around the corner. Then he started to cry. Not loud sobs, just quiet tears running down his face. I picked him up, even though he was getting too big for it, and held him while he cried. "It's okay, baby. We're going to be okay." I believed it, because I was going to make sure of it. At 9 a.m., as soon as it was a reasonable hour, I called our bank. I asked to speak to someone in account management and was transferred to a man named Mr. Jacobson. I explained the situation carefully. My husband had withdrawn a large amount of money without discussing it with me. We were experiencing marital difficulties. I was concerned about the financial security of our family. Mr. Jacobson was professional and sympathetic. "I can freeze your joint account to prevent any further withdrawals. You'll need both signatures to access the funds after that." "Do it," I said. Within an hour, the account was frozen. $32,000 remained in it, not enough to live on long term, but enough to get by for a few months. Grant couldn't touch it now. Next, I opened a new bank account in my name only and transferred the $32,000 into it. It was joint money, which meant I had every legal right to it. But more importantly, it meant Grant couldn't access our funds to support his new life in Barcelona. At 10 a.m., I called a divorce attorney. I'd found her online the night before. Patricia Flores, highly rated, experienced in contentious divorces. Her office was in downtown LA. I told her assistant I needed an emergency consultation. She had an opening at 1 p.m. I called my best friend Isla and asked if she could watch Caleb that afternoon. She asked what was going on. I told her I'd explain later, but I needed help. She said yes immediately. At 12:30, I dropped Caleb off at Isla's house. He and her son played in the backyard while Isla pulled me aside. "Eden." "What's happening?" I couldn't hold it in anymore. "Grant's leaving me. He's in Barcelona right now with another woman. He was planning to abandon us and file for divorce from there." Isla's face went white, then red with anger. "That son of a..." "I know, but I need to move fast. I'm seeing a lawyer in half an hour." Isla hugged me hard. "Whatever you need, I'm here." I drove to Patricia Flores's office in downtown Los Angeles. It was in a high-rise building with marble floors and expensive art on the walls. Patricia herself was about 50 with sharp eyes and a firm handshake. She gestured for me to sit and pulled out a legal pad. "Tell me everything." I did. I showed her screenshots of Grant's accidental text messages. I showed her Natasha's social media posts. I showed her bank statements proving he'd moved $50,000 into a secret account. I showed her credit card statements with the hotel and apartment bookings for 2 people. Patricia took notes, her expression unreadable. When I finished, she looked up. "This is abandonment. In California, that strengthens your position significantly. He left the marital home, left your son, and did so to pursue an affair. That's grounds for divorce, and it puts you in a strong position for custody support and property division. What can I do?" "We file for divorce immediately. We cite abandonment and infidelity. We request full physical custody of your son, child support and spousal support. How long does this take?" "We can file today. I'll have the papers drawn up in 2 hours. He can be served within days. Even in Barcelona, international service takes a bit longer, but it's doable." "Do it," I said. She named her retainer fee, $5,000. I wrote a check on the spot from my new account. Patricia leaned back in her chair. "We'll also request that you retain the family home. Since he abandoned it to pursue an extramarital relationship, a judge will likely rule in your favor. The house is in both your names, but California is a community property state. With abandonment, judges tend to favor the parent who maintains stability for the children." I felt something like hope for the first time in 24 hours. "How fast can we move?" "Divorce papers will be filed by 5 p.m. today. He'll be served by Monday at the latest." Today was Friday. Grant would receive divorce papers on Monday, just 2 days after he arrived in Barcelona, thinking he'd gotten away clean. "Thank you," I said. Patricia smiled. It was not a kind smile. It was the smile of someone who enjoyed winning. "You did the right thing coming to me quickly. A lot of people wait, and that gives the other party time to hide assets or build their case. You moved fast. That's smart. I left her office feeling stronger than I had in months. Grant thought he'd planned everything perfectly. But he'd underestimated me. He'd thought I'd sit at home, crying, waiting for him to come back, or send divorce papers on his timeline. He was wrong. Saturday morning, June 2nd, I woke up with a mission. Caleb was still asleep. I went into the guest room where Grant had been staying. His side of the closet in our master bedroom had been mostly empty for weeks, but the guest room closet was full. Clothes he hadn't taken to Barcelona, shoes, boxes of personal items, books, his old laptop that he'd replaced last year, sporting equipment, memorabilia from college, everything that made up Grant Thompson's life before he decided to run away. I called Isla. "Can you and Nathan come help me with something?" She was at my door within 30 minutes, her husband, Nathan, in tow. I told them what I needed. They looked at each other, then at me, and Nathan grinned. "Let's do it." We spent the next 3 hours packing up everything that belonged to Grant. Every piece of clothing, every book, every memento. We filled 23 cardboard boxes and 12 large trash bags. Not garbage, just big black contractor bags that could hold his bulkier items like winter coats and sports equipment. We carried everything out to the garage. I didn't throw anything away because that could be considered destruction of property, but Grant would not be living in this house anymore. If he wanted his things, he could come get them. By 1 p.m, the guest room was empty except for the furniture. I stood in the doorway, looking at the bare closet, and felt a weight lift off my shoulders. This room was no longer his. It was just a room. "What are you going to do with it?" Isla asked. "Make it my office. I need a real workspace, not a corner of the bedroom." At 2 p.m, a locksmith arrived. I'd called him that morning. Leo's lock service. He changed every lock in the house. Front door, back door, side gate, garage door. I had new keys made. Only Caleb and I would have copies. Grant's keys would no longer work. The locksmith finished at 3 p.m. I also had him install 2 Ring doorbell cameras, one at the front door and one at the back door. They connected to an app on my phone. If anyone approached the house, I'd get an alert and could see who it was in real time. Isla stood with me on the front porch after the locksmith left. "You're really doing this." "I am. Good. He deserves this." That evening, after Nathan and Isla went home, I sat with Caleb in the living room. We watched a movie together, something animated that he'd seen a dozen times but never got tired of. He leaned against me on the couch, and halfway through, he asked the question I'd been dreading. "Mommy, where's all of Daddy's stuff?" I chose my words carefully. "Daddy said he doesn't need it right now, sweetie. It's in the garage." "Is he coming back to get it?" "I don't know, baby." Caleb was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "I miss him. My heart broke." "I know. I'm sorry." "But we're okay, right? Just you and me, yes, baby. We're going to be just fine." And I meant it, because whatever happened next, Caleb and I would be fine. Better than fine. We'd be free. Sunday morning, I woke up early again. Caleb was still asleep. I walked through the house, taking stock of what needed to change. The guest room was first. I drove to IKEA with Nathan's help and bought a desk, a comfortable office chair, a bookshelf, and some organisational supplies. We brought it all home and spent the afternoon assembling furniture. By evening, the guest room looked completely different. It was no longer Grant's space. It was mine. I hung up my design certificates on the wall. I arranged my sketchbooks on the new bookshelf. I set up my secondary monitor and organised my desk with pens, notebooks, and a small plant. This was my office now, the room where I'd build my career and support my son. No trace of Grant remained. I also started making changes to the master bedroom. I bought new sheets and a new comforter in colours I loved. Grant had always insisted on neutral tones, beige and grey, boring, safe. I bought a duvet in deep teal with gold accents. I bought pillows that were actually comfortable instead of decorative. I hung artwork that I'd wanted to put up for years, but Grant had vetoed. Every change felt like reclaiming territory. This was my house now, my space, my life. Sunday evening, I received an email from Patricia Flores. Subject line, documents served. I opened it. Grant had been served with divorce papers at his Barcelona apartment that morning Barcelona time. He'd signed for the documents. It was official. He knew. I sat at my new desk and waited. 20 minutes later, my phone started ringing. Grant. I didn't answer. He called 5 more times in a row. I declined each one. Then the text started. What the hell, Eden divorce? Are you insane? You can't just do this without talking to me. Call me right now. We need to discuss this like adults. I read each message with a strange sense of calm. Then I replied with one text. You wanted a new life. Now you have it. Don't contact me unless it's through my lawyer. Her information is on the papers you were served. I blocked his number. On my phone, on my email, everywhere. If Grant wanted to communicate with me, he'd have to go through Patricia. For the first time in 48 hours, I smiled. The next 3 weeks passed in a blur of activity and transformation. I threw myself into work, taking on more freelance projects than I'd had in years. A tech startup needed a rebrand. A local coffee shop wanted a new logo. A boutique fitness studio needed marketing materials. I said yes to all of it. The money was good and the distraction was better. Caleb adjusted better than I'd expected. He asked about Grant less and less. We fell into a new routine. Breakfast together, school drop-off, work from my new office, pick-up, homework time, dinner, playtime, books and bedtime. It was just the two of us, and it felt right. We spent weekends exploring Los Angeles in ways we'd never had time for before. We went to the Natural History Museum and saw the dinosaur exhibits. We drove to Santa Monica Pier and rode the Ferris wheel. We had picnics at Griffith Park and hiked easy trails. Caleb laughed more than he had in months. Mummy seems happier, he said one Saturday afternoon while we were getting ice cream in Westwood. I am, baby. I really am. Isla noticed too. She came over one evening after Caleb was asleep. We sat in my new office drinking wine, and she looked at me with something like awe. You're glowing, Eden. I feel different, lighter. You took your power back. That's what happened. I also started taking care of myself in ways I'd neglected for years. I joined a yoga studio 2 blocks from the house. I went 3 times a week early in the morning before Caleb woke up. The physical practice felt good, but the mental clarity was even better. I started seeing a therapist too, Dr. Amanda Sterling, a kind woman in her 50s who specialized in divorce and family transition. She helped me process the anger and hurt without drowning in it. And then there was Felix. I met him at the coffee shop where I sometimes worked in the afternoons. He was sitting at the table next to mine, sketching something in a notebook. We made eye contact, smiled politely, went back to our work. This happened 3 days in a row. On the 4th day, he spoke. You're always so focused. What do you do? Graphic design. You, architecture. Well, trying to be. Felix Martinez. Eden Thompson. Well, soon to be just Eden again. He raised an eyebrow but didn't pry. We talked for 20 minutes about work, about Los Angeles, about the impossibly overpriced almond milk lattes we were both drinking. It felt easy. Natural. When he asked if I'd like to get dinner sometime, I surprised myself by hesitating. I'm going through a divorce right now. No pressure, he said quickly. Just coffee then. Or lunch. Or nothing at all. I just think you're interesting and I'd like to know you better. I found myself smiling. Maybe coffee. Let me think about it. He handed me his business card. No rush. If you want to talk about anything I'm around, I took the card. Thanks. I didn't call him right away, but knowing that someone found me interesting, that someone wanted to spend time with me, not because they had to, but because they chose to felt like a small miracle. Meanwhile, Grant's life in Barcelona was falling apart. I only knew this because Patricia received emails from his lawyer. Grant had hired an attorney in Spain to represent him in the California divorce proceedings. The emails were desperate, requests to negotiate, pleas for Eden to reconsider, offers to work things out. Patricia forwarded them to me with her commentary. "He's panicking. This is good for us." Apparently, Quantum Dynamics had not sent Grant to Barcelona. He'd quit his job. The Barcelona position was a lie. He and Natasha had moved there on their own planning to find work once they arrived, but work wasn't easy to find. Grant didn't speak Spanish fluently. His savings, the $50,000 he'd taken, were running out faster than expected. Barcelona was expensive. Natasha liked nice restaurants and shopping. The money was evaporating. Natasha herself was getting restless. Patricia's investigator had found her Instagram posts, which were no longer as cheerful. Subtle complaints about the weather, about missing friends, about how hard it was to make a life in a foreign country. And now Grant had divorce papers demanding child support and spousal support. $400 a month for Caleb, $1,000 a month for me. On top of that, I was requesting the house, which meant he'd get nothing from its equity until it sold if it sold. He'd also have to cover half of Caleb's expenses: medical, dental, education, extracurriculars. Patricia said he was trying to negotiate down, claiming he couldn't afford it because he didn't have a job. She'd responded coldly, "Get a job then." The universe has a funny way of delivering justice. 3 weeks after Grant left, he made his decision. He was coming back to Los Angeles. His lawyer notified Patricia. Mr. Thompson will be returning to California to collect his personal belongings and discuss matters in person with Ms. Thompson. Patricia immediately sent a cease and desist. Mr. Thompson is not to contact Ms. Thompson directly. All communication must go through legal counsel. He may collect his belongings from the property, but must provide 24 hours' notice. Grant ignored it. Of course he did. On June 22nd, 3 weeks and 1 day after he'd left, I got an alert on my phone from the Ring doorbell camera. Someone was at my front door. I looked at the screen. Grant. He was thinner than when he'd left. His clothes were wrinkled. He had bags under his eyes. He looked like a man who'd run away from his problems and found them waiting for him everywhere he went. He was also standing in front of a garage full of his belongings. 23 boxes and 12 bags, exactly where I'd left them 3 weeks ago. I watched through the camera as he stared at his things. Confusion crossed his face, then realization, then anger. He walked up to the front door and rang the bell. I didn't answer. He rang again. I watched him on my phone screen. He pulled out his keys, tried to unlock the door. The key didn't work. He tried again. Nothing. That's when he started pounding on the door. "Eden, Eden, open this door." I pressed the intercom button on the Ring app. "What do you want?" "Grant?" He jumped, startled to hear my voice come from the doorbell speaker. He looked directly at the camera. "Open the door. I need to get my stuff. Your stuff is in the garage. Take it and leave. I need to talk to you. Talk to my lawyer." "Come on, Eden. Don't be like this. We can work this out." I almost laughed. "Work this out. You abandoned your family for a woman in Barcelona. There's nothing to work out. I made a mistake, okay? Can we just talk?" "No." His voice rose angry now. "I'm still legally entitled to enter this house. Actually, you're not. Abandonment laws in California. Check with your lawyer. You left. You lost your right to this house. You can't do this. I already did. And if you don't leave in the next 60 seconds, I'm calling the police." He stood